NCN.
Thank you for joining us here on the National Communications Network, of course, for this very important interview. My name is Shaquan Gill. Budget 2024 was announced and read in the National Assembly just yesterday with the total of $1.146 trillion. Now, of course, this is not exclusive to just one particular sector, but is spread across the sectors here in Guyana. Joining me for this interview, I have the Minister of Housing and Water, the Honorable Collin Croal, the Minister of Amerindian Affairs, the Honorable Pauline Sukhai, and the Minister of Public Service, the Honorable Sonia Parag. Ministers, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you
for inviting me.
So we're looking at Budget 2024, $1.146 trillion. Before we go into the sectors, and I'll start with you, Minister Croal, what are your general overall thoughts of Budget 2024?
Thank you and good night to our listeners. I'm extremely pleased in terms of our budget, but when you listen to the presentation and you look at the numbers, you realize is consistency. And you will also realize that while in some areas we're working to ensure that we fulfill our commitment, our manifesto commitment, in some areas we have surpassed that target. And now this is to move beyond that. But certainly it is to help in terms of creating employment. It is to ensure that every sector and every category of our society is catered for. And certainly everyone can live happy when you listen to the budget presentation and what's in store for them, from the child to the adult, from the vulnerable to those on the other end. And so while there has been a lot of talk and or mention about infrastructure, which is huge, there are other things that are impacting on the individual. And so everyone is captured in this presentation.
Budget 2024, Minister Sukhai, your thoughts. Staying the course, building prosperity for all. Tell us.
I think the title is very relevant, and coming off from Minister Collin's initial thoughts, I would say yes, that it's a budget that seeks to modernize our country. It's transitioning and expanding on the sectors and how much we've done and what more will be done. And it also take into consideration the softer side of life. The support for women, the support for youths, the support for school children, the support for the vulnerable, the pensioners. And like I said, every sector has the evidence that is going to be injected more resources that will bring more services and move our country to a different level. When you listen to the presentation, you would have also heard that our workforce is going to benefit. They'll benefit from the threshold that has moved, the tax threshold that has moved to 100,000. It was announced by Minister Ashley Singh that later in the year there's going to be a salary increase, so they will not be left out. He's moved the Because We Care cash grant to a higher level. The pensioners has received a higher level of allowances or support. And so for us, I believe that the budget is reflective of not only consistency, but commitment that we would like to build a country where opportunity will prevail and that the lives of our Guyanese population will thrive.
Yeah, Minister Parag.
Right, so thank you, Shaquan, and I'll join with Minister Croal and Minister Pauline in welcoming our listeners tonight. I first of all want to commend the Minister of Finance and soon to be Public Service, Minister Ashley Singh, and his team for presenting such an incredible budget. As you know, we've never seen numbers like that in a budget ever before in Guyana. And while in social media and in the media in general, it's dubbed the largest budget, it is because, not because of the number, but as Minister Croal has said earlier, because of the impact that it will bring to people. And I've said this before about the budgets that we have presented and the budgets that we have passed in Parliament in the previous years. All these budgets are people-centered budgets, but also it is to foster economic growth, which is integral to the transformative agenda that we have for the country, as well as we want to be able to have a targeted approach in being able to build a resilient Guyana, not only infrastructurally, but for our people as well, our human resource. And so we have so many things in the budget that will target our people, as well as a modernized beyond 2030, and build a country that is resilient, that is strong, that we will have the key things, climate change, that we can tackle climate change, that we can tackle food security, that we can have energy security, the things that matter, but also to be able to tackle the basic needs of every person in every household.
Minister Parag, if I can say with you, you mentioned just a few moments ago the importance of human resources, and we know within the public service sector there is the Gold Scholarship. Talk to us a little bit about the impact that has had before and what you anticipate it to have in 2024.
Right. So as you know, the Gold Scholarship is a strictly online scholarship program that is an initiative that the People's Progressive Party would have campaigned on prior to the 2020 elections, and had in its manifesto to be able to grant 20,000 online scholarships to ordinary Guyanese over a period of 5 years. And that was so we would be able to build our human resource capacity nationally, not only in the public sector, but nationally, ensure that our people move along with our physical transformation of our country. And of course, to have our people be brought up to a level where they feel dignified, where they feel proud of themselves for that development. And in 3 years, we were able to achieve we were able to surpass that target to 21,442 persons, ordinary Guyanese, being able to benefit from the GOLD program. And so we have reached our target 2 years early, and we've delivered 100% on that manifesto promise, as we have done in so many other sectors with other promises that we have made. And so we expect that in the upcoming, in 2024 and 2025, we will well surpass 30,000 persons being able to have a tertiary education, to be able to have a technical skill, to be able to earn a living that they would be happy about. And this year, I'm particularly pleased to see that the GOLD program, that more investment has been made in the GOLD program. We have moved the human resource development under the public service ministry from 4.3 billion or there's about to 6.5 billion. So I am very, very pleased that that kind of investment is being made in our people.
Minister, outside of the GOLD program, a lot of work too will be going into training and upskilling the public service through other projects. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So that budget will also include the training and upskilling of public servants, and it is crucial that we not only train persons, but retrain persons in the public service, so that you would be able to have the quality kind of service that you're looking for, so that the sectors can function the way that they're supposed to, and of course be able to keep up with transformation as it takes place. And we were not looking to train people for today, we're looking to train people to meet the needs of 2030, meet the needs of 2040. So we're looking into the future in terms of training. So investment has been made.
Minister Sukhai, the Amerindians and a lot of the Amerindian villages have seen significant development since 2020, and especially in 2023. I remember reading that a number of the manifesto promises for Amerindians have already been delivered. What can the Amerindians expect and the indigenous people of Guyana expect in 2024?
In 2024 budget, the Amerindian population, which of course we have prioritized their development, they can expect a much more sustainable village economy. The budget continues to support food security, agriculture and food security. We're paying attention to the development of young people, young Amerindians, women, and of course we're also looking at how best we can continue to support welfare issues and social issues in the areas. So in the 2024 budget, you will find that we will continue to address and to complete the land titling project, where land, of course, is so important to not only the survival, but the sustainability of Indigenous livelihoods. So you may have heard Dr. Ashley Singh already announced that there's going to be 800 million this year to address the land titling and demarcation program. That means that we are going to strengthen the land tenure systems and also the right to land for Amerindians, which is a big part of our work, strengthening and ensuring that Amerindian rights to land and Amerindian rights to services are, basically addressed, that they're not left out, that no longer will our population, our First People, be people that can be neglected. We have overcome that barrier, and they're well on their way to developing, like every other Guyanese would. You will find also that women, we continue to feature support for women in terms of the traditional and non-traditional areas of support. There'll be still some elements of garment construction, but we will find that a lot of women who are engaged in the CSO will be trained in business development. They'll be trained in the tourism and hospitality. They will be included and trained in small engine repairs, driving, etc., because the CSOs practically has more female than male engaged. And so with young people, there's going to be close to $1.2 billion invested in that program to assist as direct employment for the young people in the Indigenous villages, but also to address the training needs of the village and train directly the CSOs, who will be able to then enhance their support for village development and to support village council in administering and also ensuring that they can take and manage what is happening in their communities.
Minister Sukhai, LCDS has been one of the hallmarks and one of the major things that has supported Amerindian development. Talk to us a little bit about how the LCDS and its finances that come therein will be able to continue to support Amerindian life.
We are well aware already that $4.7 billion have been directly transferred to Amerindian bank accounts for every village, 243 villages and communities. And this year the budget provides an additional 2.7 or $2.4 million more in 2024. This will mean that the priorities which has been identified and discussed and has been included in the village sustainable plans and approved by the villagers themselves will get on the way. It's a big work in progress, whereby villages and villagers are engaged in a number of projects that are seeing a new and it's evidence in a new change in the village, infrastructure-wise, agriculture-wise, social, culturally, etc. If one is to visit an Amerindian community, and I want to give a little story. For the last two villages I've been to, just before the end of the year, it is important for everyone to know that the Indigenous people have been directly involved in their development. When I went to Masara, they'd completed an entire play field with new pavilions. They've built a swimming pool that will service the North Rupununi, and in fact, Region 9 with respect to competitive swimming for now and in the future. They've done a bakery, they've attached to the bakery a restaurant and snack it. They've done a women's expansion of the women's center. They've done expansion of the poultry project. They've built a brand new guest house, and they've completed the internet hub. And it is a wave of activity, both infrastructure, economic, and social. And it mirrors what is happening nationally. So you go to Aishalton, it's a similar situation. You go to Cato, it's a similar situation. So the low carbon development strategy, as we know, tend to provide support for our country's development in different sectors. When it comes to the indigenous people, from the sale of the carbon credits, they are getting 15%, and they are utilizing those funds to address their vision of where they would like their village to advance to. While nationally and administratively, our government continues to invest in their development as it relates to human resource development, health, education, and major, bigger infrastructure. So it's a story that doesn't leave anyone behind.
Definitely. Let's turn our attention to the housing and water sector. Minister, let's focus on water first.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about what has been accomplished, first of all, in terms of water across the country from 2020 to now.
So let's start with what are some of the complaints in the water sector? One, lack of access. Two, the quality of service in terms of not treated. Three, the level of service at the household. In some cases, it's on a rotation or as a scheduled basis. And of course, a lot of wastage in the system. So we've sought to address all of that. And so, first of all, the major investment that we're making right now is to address the issue of the treated water. When we got in 2020, having done an assessment, on the coastline, it's starting from Charity all the way down to Crabble Creek. It's only about 52% of the population that got treated water.
This is in 2020.
This is when we got in. Now we have come up with a plan to turn all of this around, and we have given a commitment that by 2025, 90 to 95% on the coastline must receive treated water. So that is already in stream. So what does it require? One, it requires 12 new treatment plants. We have already, as of last year, we have tendered, and that's on stream to be completed sometime this year. In this budget now caters for a continuation of 7 of that treatment plant, and now 5 new ones who are out currently being tendered. So by the end of 2025, again, all that complaint that you get on the coastline, the rusty look, the taste of the water, the iron content, all of that diminish, because it will be non-existent. In part of to address the aspect about treated water, new treatment plants as well as upgrade of the current treatment plants we have in the system. So we have a number of plants that we're currently upgrading and increasing the capacity. I'll give you quickly, for example, Eccles, which is close by. So we have done some work there that had a treatment plant. There's only about 5 MLD output. Now we've been able to triple it. We're on our way, so it's going to be at about 15 MLD. So in all of that, we also have to drill wells to supply these treatment plants, because you have compounded new housing areas, so you have new connections, and then you also have to address the existing customers who are complaining about their service. So we have moved in a small way. We have moved to about 57%, but the impact on this investment, the total turnaround of the impact you will start feeling that before this year is finished. Because as I said, coming into stream, we have 7 new treatment plants by the end of this year. The first 2 or 3 by the middle of this year, you will start feeling that. Then the other major investment and very impactful for the hinterland, Minister Sukhai's purview, in the sense access to water. We just came out a lengthy, well, it's still in by and large, but I'm seeing some rain, but a lengthy dry period. When we got in 2020, it is below 50%, around 42 to 45% access in the hinterland for villages. We have invested heavily in this regard. We are drilling a lot of new wells, and the impact has been felt already. We are about 75% as of last year.
Oh.
And so we're moving to about 85, and so we'll be 100% access by the end of 2025. So you understand where I'm going here.
Yeah.
You can see the upward climb, and you can see what is the plan. So this year we have $1.5 billion for the hinterland, 1.4 billion last year. Another major impact in terms of the water sector where we're moving to, and that is for the distribution network. We're changing out a lot of the transmission mains. You have, for example, here in central Georgetown, where when you drive around, sometimes you see leakages under the road, like around Main Street, Church Street, etc., by Pegasus and those areas. So we're changing out all of those. Those are expensive, those systems to change out. Those pipes are centuries old. But with all of that, to be able to impact on the new areas, to up the pressure, we are also changing out along the entire coastline. So heavy investment in a number of changing out of transmission lines. As I said, these are progressive changes, but coming on stream also are the new areas, the new housing areas. So if you use example East Bank, which is close, you have new housing areas for the Peters Hall, and you keep going down, and you have all those Sterling Farm, and you keep going down. But to the front, they were getting water, but now we open up the back. So we have to drill new wells, and that's ongoing. So the work and the response for GWI not only takes into consideration the impact on the current database or the customers, is also as a result of already, as the minister informed, 30,000 new households that we have allocated. All of those eventually will come on stream. Those are new connections that will come on stream. So we have to cater for that. We can't wait until persons start occupying the area and then start the investment. So you'll find that is where our focus is in terms for the water. And I know sometimes there are a lot of complaints around in terms of also our response. And we have improved to increasing our meter coverage. That is to reduce the non-revenue water. A lot of leakages, water not being captured, and so a lot of metering program that we're embarking on to ensure that, not to increase, by the way, it is just to measure. And then you have, so with that comes responsible usage, because when someone sees there's a meter at their house, then they use it responsibly. May I make this point though?
Sure.
For the water sector, like with the electricity, this heavy investment, $22 billion this year, is coming at no additional charges to the households. In fact, when we got into office, we removed the VAT and reduced by 5%, and also introduced for the pensioners the subsidy program. So for the pensioners, so those pensioners that have a connection, up to 10 cubic meter is distributed free. We've done all of that as a government while increasing our expenditure in the sector.
Minister, if we can turn our attention to housing, some $78 billion allocated for there. What are the plans for housing going into 2024? Shall we see new areas being developed, more house lots being given out? Talk to us about that.
Sure. So on the housing sector, of course, so we have a continuation of our allocation program, We're committed as a government, 50,000, 10,000 annually within the 5 years. And so that will continue. The infrastructure work that is catered for here now, therefore, responds to the allocation exercises that were done. So this is to give access to first-time homeowners. So these are new areas, virgin areas, zero infrastructure. So that's why it is very costly. And I saw someone making a comment or a statement that house lots should be provided free. Now let me add to this response. The cost for the house lots to the householder is highly subsidized because the infrastructure work for a new area involves the road network, drainage, the utilities, meaning placing of the pipelines for the water as well for the electricity. All of that is encompassed in the development of a new housing area.
Yeah.
So when you take all that into consideration, you realize the amount that is asked of the new allottee is heavily subsidized by the government. And so that is one aspect. We'll continue our allocation, another 10,000 this year, on our way to our 50,000 target. Then you have infrastructure work for the houses. Now, construction of houses was not part of our manifesto commitment. What we committed was house lots. But these are added benefits to our people, professionals who have zero time or no or little time to be able to run around the hassle to construct their own home. It also helps with occupancy in areas. So it's a whole domino effect. And every house that is constructed has an average, a minimum of 10 persons on employment. So look at the turnaround effect. So you have employment. Every time there's construction, then the transportation sector benefits. As simple as somebody who is selling snacks or lunch within the work site benefits from when there's construction ongoing. And so they input us into the economy. We don't take time to look at this. And so from the housing program, more of this will continue. Then, of course, we also have a number of utilities that we're putting in for the areas. Some we're lagging behind. And you will find us also doing some community roads in the sense of occupancy. And so some of those communities, we have done the road to a certain level, but then now we'll complete the infrastructure work that is required. But ongoing at the same time are also going to be for processing of our ownership. So you get a lot, but then you also will get that final document that you can call your own, your title, certificate of title. Or if it's a transport, that signals that is what you lodge as your collateral, and you take that to the bank. But I want to make a point here too on the impact on the housing sector.
Yeah.
Let's look at the low income. Let's look at the normal person. The point has been made about the pathway workers. A lot of things have been said. The pathway workers are paid 40,000 for 10 days.
Yes. For a month, yeah.
Low income house at $5.5 million on average. Go to the bank. On average, the monthly installment is about $25,000. That's too because the interest rate has come down. So on average is about 3.5. When there's promotional activity, there may be 3.2 to 3.5, but on average 3.5%. That person who do a part-time job and embark on other activities for themselves can now also have an opportunity for home ownership. And so sometimes we don't take time to look at the impact of what the housing program has done. opportunity for young people like yourself. In the past, that would have been unheard of. To speak about at a young age, to talk about owning your own home. One, the mortgage rate might have been prohibitive. Secondly, the response was not there, obviously, in terms of responding to the the pending applicants. And so look at that. Young professionals have an opportunity to their scale. So that is why we've been able to respond to different levels. I only use the low income as the starting benchmark. Of course, you have at that higher level too. And all our housing program are catered for that. Low, moderate, middle, high. Similarly, our allocation programs. We also have the completion of the adequate housing program, urban accessibility program, and that is we'll see the construction of a number of core homes. Again, another vulnerable level of our society. Their contribution, $100,000. Similarly, you'll see the continuation of the subsidy program, and so that is the support with materials. And when you examine what we're doing in the housing program, and you drive along every area, so now it brings me to the highway, because that's the next big impact. This year program sees one, the completion of the Oven Region 3, that is to the schooner to the crane, before the middle of this year. Completion. This year sees the Diamond to Craig 4-lane. We're aiming to bring that in by the end of this year. You also have the Eccles Industrial Site Road, or the Hagsbush Site Road, which is a main connecting point for the road, the bypass road that is the 4-lane that is being built from Ogle. So there's another portion, the 4-lane, that will be from somewhere within the vicinity of the Windsor Estate going out to the public road. The impact of these roads, just use the East Bank now. So as you go further, maybe passing Mocha, you see a lot of empty lands. Those persons are now going to be able to access their land, because we are currently showing, because the infrastructure work is complete. So when you look in the ministry page or you look in the dailies, you see a lot of land showing is ongoing, because these are infrastructure works that were completed, and now persons can access their land. All of those areas persons will now be able to access. But before that, before the highway, that was considered the back.
Yeah.
And so now, that's the front. Minister Sukhai lives on the East Bank. She'll tell you, I'm sure she uses the 4-lane to get in quite faster.
Yeah.
And so, look at the downtime that we have saved, the time persons spend in the line, and that is the impact of what the expansion of our road network does.
Minister Croal, as we conclude our conversation, I'll start with you.
Oh, time flies, I realize.
Time flies. Next week, we begin the budget debates.
Sure.
And that further takes us into the consideration of estimates. What can the general public expect from now going into that period in terms of more information coming out and the style of debates that we can see from next week? Your thoughts?
Sure. So from our perspective, is for us to let our listeners and let the population know how they have been impacted. I mean, not to digress, so today I saw a post, someone said, ask the question, a rhetorical question, what is there for young people? But you have to dissect it. Minister Parag spoke about the impact of gold. Minister Sukhai from her sector spoke in terms of the hinterland. And then if you go to sports, then you have another response that in terms of how the young people are impacting. So it is for us to also get our message out, but to let everyone know and understand that we are a responsible government. We don't just provide figures willy-nilly. We analyze and we look at sometimes where the gaps are. We also look in terms of help to push forward so that as quickly as possible, we all can live to that level and happy and comfortable as a people and as a society. And so every single day, as ministers, certainly, that is what we do, is to ensure that we are able to deliver on our commitment that we have made. And it is consistent, well, in keeping with the theme of our budget.
Yeah. Minister Sukhai, your closing thoughts on Budget 2024 and budget debates upcoming?
Well, we expect an exciting encounter, and it will be used to ensure that the nation is educated on what the budget holds for every sector. It is serious. It will be a serious debate also, because we expect that it is an opportunity for government to ensure that the people understand the priorities and where they stand among everything that is going to be invested in and the impact that will be expected. So we will use that opportunity to make sure the nation understands where Guyana is heading and how much the government is committed to making sure that we put ourselves on the road to prosperity and we build a strong country.
Minister Parag.
Well, there's not much to say after Minister Croal and Minister Sukhai. They've said it quite clearly. But, it is a large sum of money. And it's, as I said, it's months and months of a targeted approach in ensuring that the welfare of our people is taken care of first and foremost. And that is what we have to go out there and explain to the people. The people want you to break it down in their language. They want to, even if you come from region 2, region 6, they want you to explain it so they can understand how they are going to benefit daily, and their daily lives are going to be impacted by this, and that's what we're going to go out there and do. But in addition to that, I expect the other side to come with the usual drama. I expect them to come and say this is discriminatory, this is a private sector budget, this has nothing in it for the ordinary man. And you know what? I will say to them, what is wrong with a budget also targeting the private sector? How can you have a country that is transforming? How can you have a country that is going to move from yay to here without having the private sector involved? How are you going to have economic growth without having the private sector involved? But at the same time, we're also looking at our pensioners. We're looking at our persons with disabilities. We're looking at our children with the Because We Care cash grant. We're looking at young people in culture, youth, and sports, building on those who on our sporting facilities, on our sports itself, on youth engagement and training, on every aspect is being targeted. Funds are being invested in that, and so I expect the usual language to be coming out of the mouth of the opposition members. But you know what? They always have the quote-unquote bright ideas when they are out of government, and it's sad to see. But we are definitely focused on building a resilient Guyana. We are focused on ensuring that our people are taken care of and that our people will have sustainability. So I think once we hit the ground running on Monday, we will be explaining that to people.
Minister Parag, Minister Sukhai, Minister Croal, I want to thank you so much
Yep.
for spending some time dissecting your various sectors in Budget 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Thank you
Shaquan,
very
for the
much.
opportunity.
You've heard from the Minister of Housing and Water, Minister Croal, the Minister of Amerindian Affairs, Minister Sukhai, and of course the Minister of Public Service, Minister Sonia Parag. And these conversations will continue. And of course, Budget 2024, the debates start next week on Monday. Without further ado, my name is Shaquan Gill, and I'm saying goodbye for now.